Welcome here. We're on the Gamescom. I'm here from Battleverse, and I have the honor of interviewing David Weiss and also Takaya Imamura. It's a pleasure having you and an honor having you too.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Hi.
All right. Short answer.
Can't stop.
Good. Before we jump into the current topics, I want to dig into your past a little bit. Takaya, you've worked for Nintendo, with Nintendo for 30 years already, and worked at Star Fox and F-Zero. That's correct, right?
Hi.
All right. Yeah. Good answer. And you, David, you worked on the soundtrack for Donkey Kong Country as well as Battletoads, correctly?
Indeed, they're some of my earlier games. True.
Right.
Okay, and
Zelda as well.
And Zelda as well, yeah. We will be coming to that as well. But first off, I want to ask you guys, what are your highlights in all these years working for these projects?
やっぱり64の時代が多分僕デイビッドと同い年なんですけども、きっと彼も64の時代が楽しかったという。
Alright, so just to repeat it again, it's mainly the Nintendo 64 era that they worked together as well, David Weiss and Takaya-san, and this is one of the highlights that he said to me. Alright, and then on your side, what are your...
Well, the same. Obviously, the N64 and the GameCube, we were working on Star Fox Adventures, so that was a good game to work on. I also enjoyed working on Diddy Kong Racing on the N64. It was a super good console to work on after the Super Nintendo.
All right, thank you for the insight. For Takaya-san, you took the step jumping from working with Nintendo to going indie development. What inspired you for this move, and what are the challenges but also advantages from going from Nintendo to indie?
少ない人数で作る方がみんなで楽しくゲームが作れて、でみんながこうチームがね一丸となってできる感覚がすごく楽しいです。
Thank you very much. And then, as it was also said, you worked on Zelda, and for that we have a question: what is the difference in the creative process from the current indie development to something like a big project like The Legend of Zelda? Is there any big difference?
やはりこう風通しがいいというか、みんなですぐ情報を共有しやすいので、あまりこう方向に違いが出ないっていうか、みんなで一緒に進める感じ。
All right, thank you very much. Then I have a few questions to you, David. Your part also make a big impact on the game's experience with the soundtrack, just for the mood and the atmosphere. How do you approach a composition for creating all these atmospheres for the different games?
So I think on the Super NES, we only had a very limited number of channels, and so it was important to build in the atmosphere as part of the tune. So where possible, I'd use the atmosphere as part of the rhythm to help tell the musical story, and then I kind of ran with that ever since. So I've used atmospheric sounds in all of my soundtracks as part of the rhythm or as part of the melody. And I think it just creates a unique kind of synergy between the background and also the music too. So it's not a second thought, it's part of the actual music.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, we are seeing a lot of development in the technical department right now. Is there anything that impacts your development regarding the music? Something that just like in the last 2 years has changed like significantly?
To be honest, it's more of an evolution. I mean, we're quite lucky as far as audio goes. We've got lots of cool tools to play with. Let me see what have I used or bought lately that's really cool. No, there is something. Just have to give me a second on that one. I suppose there really are a lot of cool tools, and there's a company called Polyverse which do some really nice filtering effects, which is a way of shaping sounds, cutting out frequencies or adding frequencies, and that just adds another palette to work with.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I have something regarding some games that you've been working on in the past. For you, Takaya-san, you were or are working on Omega 6 currently. Can you tell the fans something that that they might expect from the game, like the art style, maybe the gameplay, or something for the story?
とても個性の強い、すごくハマる人にはハマるけど興味のない人には全く惹かれないゲームかなと。
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. You, David, you worked on or are involved in Gimmick 2, as I have on my notes here. What maybe impressed you and made you say, okay, I want to work on that project, and how does it impact your music for the creation to the game?
So I think with Gimmick 2, obviously it harks back to the 8-bit days. It's kind of loosely connected to the 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. Gimmick 1 was very popular in Japan and Sweden because those were the only two territories it was released in. So as part of that, I took the instrumentation from both Japan and Sweden, and that was a huge part of the music for Gimmick 2. So I'm hoping that that's setting the tone for a very Gimmick Type 2 game.
All right, thank you. Then if you guys look at the current industry in gaming, are there things that you are looking forward to, or maybe things that you are maybe scared of? Are there any, like, in general things where you look at the industry and have like your thoughts on it?
僕らがいた30年間でゲームはものすごい速度で進化しました。だからこの先も僕らが想像できないもっとすごいものが出てくるのがとても楽しみです。一方でこうコンテンツができすぎてちょっとユニークな作品が減りつつあるのかなっていうのは心配してます。
Okay, then on your side.
So I think the games industry at the moment is at a bit of a crossroads or an impasse in the fact that everybody was competing to deliver the next first-person shooter, but slightly better, and that has to break at some point. But the good side of that is it then provides a huge opportunity for innovation, and I think this will influence new games coming through that have to have a different edge. They've got to be creative. They've got to excite the player in new ways, and I think this will set the tone for the next generation of gamers.
Okay, yeah. Then, as you already mentioned, what impact for you, Takaya-san, you impacted not only Japan but also the entire world with your works. What do you think do games play in part of the culture? Do you say like games have a special place in our culture at the current time?
まあ僕らがゲームを作り出した頃でかなり文化的な価値は高まったと思うんですけれども、でもまだまだ低いと感じてます。
Okay, and thank you very much for that answer. In general, where do you guys take your inspiration for your works? Are there any special sources, any media, movie, books, or whatever?
I think I take my inspiration from pretty much everything. So if I'm watching a film and it's got a cool soundtrack, or if I'm playing a game, it's got a cool soundtrack. Generally not so much with games, it's mainly from live music, from going to see orchestras, films, that kind of thing. That's more likely to influence me than anything else. So that's where I take my inspiration from. And also just living life in general, that always gives a lot of room for being inspired by stuff.
Okay, thank you very much. You, Takaya-san?
僕の場合はやっぱり映画が好きなので、映像作品をいかにインタラクティブにゲーム的に伝えるかみたいなことをよく考えてます。そうですね。
Okay, so if I may hook into that, so it's maybe a inspiration from a movie, and how can I make a game out of that movie approach? Or did I misunderstand it?
スターフォックス64を作った時に こう映画的な手法を使いつつもいかにインタラクティブにっていう部分を普通のお客さんにどう伝えるかっていうことを一生懸命考えました。
だからカメラ、
その
角度
映画のようだけど、そのユーザーの選択によってストーリーが変わるとか。
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe a question for the viewers here. Do you have any tips for upcoming or starting developers, writers, or music composers on how to start, where to look for?
So I think for me, I'd always try and dissuade anybody from wanting to be a video game composer or a composer in general. It's a hard gig. But if you're really passionate about it, just focus on the area that you want to go into and study it, make the best out of it. And it's about how you make yourself useful to people. So what can you offer to somebody who might want to employ you? That should be the focus.
So more of a, let's say, selling standpoint than a learning standpoint?
It's a lot. You've got to learn the software, you've got to learn your craft, and you've got to learn how to sell. So it's a hard gig.
Yeah, that's very true. And you, Takaya-san?
いかにユニークなものを作るかにかかってると思うんですけど、まあ似たようなものになりがちなんですけれども、常にこう客観的に本当にこれがユニークな自分の作品になってるかどうかっていうのをこう確かめながら作るといいのかなと思います。
All right, then maybe some closing words from you two. Is there anything that you see currently in the gaming industry where you can say, okay, this is what the fans can look forward to? Could be something from your both works, or like in general where you see, okay, this is something that excites you, that where you say, okay, this would be something for the fans as well?
You know, I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing Imamura's Omega 6 because it has that retro thing. So I'm really curious to see where that's going. That's quite exciting. And again, with what I was talking about earlier, just some of the new innovative games that are coming through, I'm really excited to see how they re-envisage games into the future. So I think it's an exciting time. Things are going to change, and I think it's going to be good for the gamer.
All right, then your closing words?
ゲーム業界としては素晴らしい発展をしたと思ってます。でもう僕はこの年になって、自分勝手に好きなことをやっている、年寄りアーティストだと思ってください。
Okay, that's great insight from you guys, not just for the games that you're working on, but also on the work in general that you're doing. It was a pleasure hearing from you. It's a pleasure having you, and it was nice that I was able to do the interview, and wish you all a lot of fun on the Gamescom.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
ありがとう。